Mission Pro Wrestling, the symbol of excellence in women's sports entertainment.
Happy Thursday, everybody, Mission Pro family. This is Mind Runner, and welcome to another episode of Mission Pro Spotlight. I am so stoked tonight, even though my good colleague Julie couldn't make it tonight. She's on a special Mission Pro assignment. More details on that later. But my guest at this time is... Yes, focus on this, Mark Briscoe. It is
Classy lady.
ODB, the ODB, which I gotta say it stands for One Dirty Babe.
Or we keep it Fiji here.
No, well, just for the first couple minutes until YouTube stops looking at us. But the One Dirty Bitch is here. Jesse, welcome to Mission Pro Spotlight. So stoked to have you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've done an interview. I got food truck season is crazy busy, but I'm glad, I was able to do this.
I can only imagine. I've only worked in restaurants, and I can't imagine. I know the managers and owners were there all the time. I mean, like when you're running, so I can't even imagine like a food truck's got to be 24/7.
Well, it's not 24/7, but we have, it's me and my husband that do it together. We run and operate it ourselves with a couple of employees, and I love it. Being on wheels is obviously the wrestling business kind of taught me, being on the road, but it's great. It's a great, what do you do after wrestling? So it's
yeah. Well, that's one of the things too, and we'll want to get into it a little bit too, but one of the typical questions that people ask wrestlers is, what are your favorite road snacks for when you're traveling to gigs? But if you're traveling in the food truck, it's kind of like, well, hey, you can do a whole thing. But I guess that should be a booking benefit, like, showing up at an event, having the food truck out there too would be pretty cool. Like, hey, guess what? Come on over. Hey, maybe we should get the Mission Pro should have the truck show up for one of our events.
Yeah, you want my ass ain't driving it, but if anyone wants to book Big Alan ODB's meet and greet food truck, you can get it shipped, and then we'll fly there and meet you out there.
You're done. You're done with the road trip stuff, right?
Yeah, because we get that all the time. I mean, we're based in Minnesota. Yes, I brought it to Florida, but I had it shipped back home. But it's based in Minnesota. So if you want to come get some, you got to make a trip to Minnesota. But yes, if you do want to book us, we will, you have to ship it. But I know I get it all the time. Will you come here? Will you come here? I'm like, my ass ain't driving 26 hours. Get a pork sandwich.
We need you in Rhinelander, North Dakota. No, I don't think so. Well, fly me out, but that'll be cool. Well, we have a segment. There are the few people, in the Mission Pro family that may not be familiar with ODB. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, come on now.
But just in case there are folks watching that haven't yet to discover ODB, like I actually did, and I'll tell you my favorite moment was I first saw you. I was at AEW's All Out. You and Jazz came out in the Battle Royal together, and it was like, and you had the flask, and I was like, oh, that is somebody that just really, that's my people right there getting in the ring. And, that just really made me feel cool to see you. And then I started tracking you and following you everywhere and TNA and everything. And then, of course, teaming up with the Briscoes. But we'll talk about that. But we do have a segment called Insta Insanity for people to get to know you a little bit better. And we kind of went through your Instagram and some pictures that may or may not require some extra explanation or a story. if you will. So,
Oh,
ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen,
Oh, yeah.
as the man in the black hat says, by God, it's time for Insta Insanity.
By God, it's Insta Insanity.
All right, and here we go, kicking it off.
Oh boy.
There were so many pictures of the that I wanted to go, but this one I like because you got the luchadors out here. But what's going on with this?
So that is Mr. Earl Hebner in the picture. Next
Oh
to me,
wow!
with the ref shirt on. So we do, since we're called the meet and greet, we do bring out our good wrestling friends to some shows out here that we do, and we do a lot of Minnesota breweries, and these are some of our best friends from Hayes Public House in Buffalo, Minnesota. The guys were in the lucha. They call themselves the Dragon Brothers.
Ooh.
And they're not trained wrestlers. They just love it. And we brought Earl out there, and Earl loved the beer. And they actually make my beer. It's called the ODB BAM.
Nice.
And I actually, help make the beer. I just don't slap my name on anything. When you see my name on a product, this bitch made it.
It's not just selling that. It's actually a approved product.
I am doing the work. Yes.
Well, we have a question in the chat. Courtney Holland wants to know, what is your favorite item off the menu? While we're talking about that, let's go ahead and take a look at that. My mouth's watering. Doing some research here. I was looking the Pork Mania, Buff Chick Nachos. I'm not sure what I would pick. Meat in a Cup. What's your favorite from the menu here?
Actually, the Meat in a Cup is probably my favorite because I started the food truck business in 2017, and someone told me, they're like, I was doing Daytona Bike Week in Florida. They're like, you need something that people can walk around and eat and drink still. And so I was drinking, out of my red Solo cup, and I was like, Meat in a Cup would be kind of cool. And they're like, what? And then I was like, yeah, you can do like beans, pork, coleslaw, pickle, all in a cup, and bam, there it is. And it's one of the top sellers.
It's convenient too. Like you said. And is that a collector's cup you get with it?
Yeah, that's an old. I don't have those anymore, so they're definitely collectors. But then it says, Meat in a Cup, and then it says pick your cup size, B, C, or double D.
Got to go with the double Ds.
And
I mean, come on, you got to go with the double Ds.
I've only offended a few people. Everyone gets a kick out of it. It's funny to see people reading it, and then I wait a second, and they're like, pick your cup size, BC. They're like, oh my God, that's freaking hilarious. Then you get some people like, like,
they don't get it. If you're not offending somebody, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And again, it's so cool that you're able to, and I love the name Meet and Greet. It's MEAT, great name. I love it. And then this picture right here, one of my favorite trios of all time, by the way, and the training video for you guys were going against, I think, the Kingdom, and it was a Ring of Honor, and you were training at the Briscoe Ranch, I understand.
Yeah, they invited me out to the family ranch. Those two, oh man, Miss J, this was awesome. Because that was my first time meeting those guys when they brought me in Nashville. That picture's from Nashville, from the fairgrounds where TNA started. And I was a surprise. Like, no one knew I was there. And because they didn't really have women's wrestling in Ring of Honor. All they had was Maria was there. And Maria kept pounding on the Briscoes. And bam, I came out, and the crowd, they were not expecting it. They weren't expecting, first of all, women to come out. And then, of course, me. And then the ODB. And then it became One Dirty Briscoe.
Perfect.
But it was awesome. Those guys, we had so much fun in the ring, and they loved it. They're like, this is so awesome. You're adding to our gimmick, and it was a good time with those guys. And it's funny because they made me do stuff I normally didn't do, like going out the top rope.
Yep.
They just started laughing at me because they're like, oh yeah, you can go up there and do the Doomsday. And I'm like, have you ever seen any of my matches? I've never gone off the top. They're like, well, you're doing it tonight. I'm like, yes.
Well, They were definitely pushing you. But you guys really had some chemistry too. He definitely fit in as the one dirty Briscoe. And if everybody gets a chance, go check out the video on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. The letting the puppies out was a great moment too. It's like,
no,
we're not talking about
whoa.
whoa. And it's although it's a tragedy that we lost Jay, it's great to see Mark get a lot of spotlight on AEW and Ring of Honor now.
Yes, I'm so happy that he's back, back on track, getting back, I'm sure it's got to be hard for him there without his brother, but I'm glad that wrestling is keeping him busy and keeping his brother's name alive. And
absolutely. You mentioned too that there wasn't a women's wrestling at the time with TNA.
Mm-hmm.
There were several moments I was reading, just kind of in your history there. I think was it OVW? There was a wrestling promotion where you just declared yourself, listen, I'm the women's champion.
That was OVW.
Yeah. You just like, listen, I am the women's champion. They're like, you better make a belt for me.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, because I was in OVW. Al Snow and Danny Davis let me in with no contract, and WWE kept saying, "Who's this ODB? Why is she on our TV every week? And she's not one of our, contracted people." They're like, "Because she's doing it. The girls you got signed ain't doing shit." So me and Serena Deebs were the two non-contractors, and we helped build that women's division that it is today. And we it was me, Serena Deebs, Beth Phoenix was there at the time.
Nice.
Kat Winters, and it was so we helped build and made the OVW Women's Championship. So yeah.
And that speak to that time in women's wrestling, like the evolution of women's wrestling. A lot of people highlight, of course, the women's evolution in WWE when you had Charlotte Flair, Mercedes Moné, Bayley, but that doesn't quite touch on the story. That's like the fourth chapter. Like the path has already been paved at that point by a lot of hard work. And so speak to that a little bit about yourself. I mean, I loved you coming out with Jazz at the All In Battle Royal. And, that's another legend that I love watching.
Yeah, because 2007 was the start of the TNA Knockouts. And it was great because we all worked together in the indie scene.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Tracy Brooks lived with each other a long time. Angelina Love, you had Velvet Sky, Gail Kim, Kong, Christy Hemme, and we all came together, and it was just so cool to finally, build a division like that we all were so different. That's, and obviously the other companies were watching that too. But then, they did it years and years later, which is fine, whatever. That was their time. Like that was their evolution, I guess. But we had it back in, 2007 doing our thing. We were main eventing before they were main eventing, but that's all right. They can have all the credit, whatever.
Yeah. This picture right here.
Oh, yes. That was the Cauliflower Alley. Oh, yeah. Miss Luna and Kong. That's a pretty kick-ass picture to have that.
Love it.
Those three characters. I remember when I got to wrestle Luna in my earlier days back in 2003, I believe. So I'm, 3 years in the business, still green as shit. And we wrestled outside in a baseball arena or diamond, and we just brawled. She's like, "What do you want to do, kid?" I'm like, "Nothing." She's like, "Awesome, let's go." Like, she's gonna kill you. And I'm like, whatever. And we had so much fun. Like, we were just we had nothing planned and just went out there and brawled. And then the next night, she actually beat up one of the boys and she whooped his ass.
As she should.
Yeah.
This is three badasses right here.
That's a kick-ass pick.
I love that. And I remember, it reminds me that you had Triple H once advised you to go to that you would do better at TNA than WWE because you could develop a character. Did he kind of know? So do you feel like that was good advice or?
Oh, hell, because you know how some people don't, they always want to go to the big show, but sometimes you need to go somewhere else to build yourself. Because who knows? I would have waited to know OVW, which I I didn't have any plans for that. I wanted to go to TNA and be ODB that I built years and years for. And finally OVW let me be ODB and just said, just keep going with this character. Just let it out, be a dirty bitch, whatever you got to do. And then I was thankful for Triple H to tell me, hey, Vince doesn't like you, basically. I think you would do very good in the TNA knockout division. He's like, go do it. So that's cool. I mean, he could have been a dick and said, hey, stick it out, kid. Or he's like, no, go over there.
And it was to me, it was great because there's something about letting talent cook. You see like a Tony Storm in AEW now, what she's been able to do with this, this timeless persona. You got all these letting ladies and all the talent just be able to go for their creativity versus, and again, WWE was the company, but they seem to have a very set idea of what they wanted, whereas it looked like TNA and then AEW also allows you to develop. You look at, and now you got folks like Jordan Grace showing up at NXT.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
like the champion badass that she is.
Yeah.
I mean, the pop that she got when she showed up to face Roxanne Perez was just tremendous. And I think that's the kind of stuff that's the women's wrestling I think that a lot of us really want. I don't know if you see it that way.
I agree, because I didn't even know, because I always watch the Rumble, and that's actually been one of my favorite pay-per-views since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that Jordan was in the Royal Rumble. And I remember hearing, I was like, holy shit. So of course I messaged her, after the night, and I said, girl, great job. I'm like, that's so freaking cool that you're doing it. Because I got to wrestle her, a few years back at TNA, and just watching her grow, her dedication, like she's all in, and I love it because she takes awesome care of her body. She looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
It's just awesome to see that, because not every woman has that in the business. They don't have the dedication, like that.
And I've heard from a lot of women's wrestlers, like you either got to build up a little bit of body fat so the bumps don't hurt as much, right? Or if you go zero body fat, you're gonna really hurt yourself.
Yeah, it depends. If you want to be a little skinny bitch, your career's probably not gonna last as long.
You're gonna,
because your ass ain't gonna look like that in 15 years.
No, not at all. Well, let's talk about this person and what you would tell this Lordy. Person. A couple pictures here, the glamour shot, and then looks like that the Nutcracker?
Yes, I was. And we'll get to my book later, but
yes,
when I was little, I was a dancer, ballet, tap, jazz, for like 14, 15 years or so growing up. And I auditioned to be one of the soldiers in the Nutcracker, and I got it. And that was pretty cool.
Nutcracker sounds like one hell of a wrestling move too.
I know. I should name one of my moves a Nutcracker. And then that was my senior year picture.
Wow, look at that future badass. Nobody knows. Look how demure you look in this picture. It's all you're almost like getting ready to 90210 it or something like that.
That was my favorite show.
There you go. And then lo and behold, a flask in a wrestling mat later.
Yeah.
Here we are. Then of course, we get to this and how was this was this for your TNA what was this for? This was for a photo shoot.
This is when Christy Hemme, I loved her for this, when she finally got in control of the women's division, where we got to do like calendars and better photo shoots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she actually took charge. That's actually in her backyard when she lived in Orlando.
Wow.
She took charge, and this was for one of the years' calendars. Yep. I loved it because it brought out a different side of ODB that people don't normally see.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my other outfits, I really never showed a lot of skin, but it's just cool when I got to do this. And at the time I was like, oh God, I hate these things. But then I look at the pictures, I'm like, God damn. I'm like, yeah.
Like, who's this fine piece of, oh, that's me.
Even though I didn't know how to put that swimsuit on, it was.
Hey, looks like you did an all right job to me.
Yeah.
I think the chat agrees. And a lot of love for Christy as well in the chat too. And it's something about, a little bit about representation as well, and having the right person, leading the locker room or leading a women's division. Yeah, you want your performers, but you definitely want to make it your own. Make the women's division the women's division. What are some of the victories you've experienced or seen in growing women's wrestling in general, and what are some misconceptions people may still have today about women's wrestling?
Gosh, I don't like people. I mean, because I always say back in the day, sex sells. Whatever.
Yeah,
and people had to do what they had to do. But now that the women are being main eventers and top rated segments and some shows, and I think it's great. And then it's great to see that the women take it more seriously now than back in the day. Some people just wanted to get on TV, have their little fame, and do other shit. But now it's cool that these girls that are in it now, they want to be in Hall of Famers. They want to go down in history. They want to have, the best matches on the card. And you can tell, you see that in a lot of the women today. They want to go down in history. They're doing it. They're not just there for a paycheck. They're not just, there to get to something else. They're there to frickin' wrestle,
They're there to mix it up. And there's already fantasy booking. Can we get Thunder Rosa versus ODB? Whoa.
We actually wrestled. The last match we had was NWA was, oh gosh,
2018 or?
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, because I had the food truck. I think I was just starting the food truck business.
Speaking of the food truck, I did catch a video where you had a very rough night where you found that the food truck was on fire, and how you were able to recover from that, and what were you just ready to give up, or were you ready to pity the fool when you catch the person that was responsible?
Well, when I first got the call, the food trailer, the original one I had, it was just down the road from my place, and they're like, your food truck's on fire. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go down there, I see it as, obviously up in flames, nothing to save. And
yeah,
I'm like, all right. And then I get a call, and from DDP actually the next day, and he actually heard about it because I posted all about it and stuff. It was basically, I was 2 years of food trucking, and I brought it to like AEW shows in Chicago, and I got it out there with a lot of wrestlers coming to it and stuff. And then DDP is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear about your food truck. What can we do? Can we put it out there, try to raise some money for it? And then I ended up, in 2020, right when the world was shutting down, I bought this new Mac Daddy food truck, but I ended up doing great because everyone couldn't leave their house. And what did I do? I was like the ice cream woman. So I went into neighborhoods. I would plan it out. I would tell, where I was, and they all come out and, and eat. And
what's the thing? You had to wear a mask inside, but outside you could demask. I know, whatever. I mean, that was a strange time for a lot of folks there. By the way, we got somebody asking what's in the cup.
Just ice water these days now.
Well, this ain't water, that. But yeah, I mean, that must have been actually somewhat of an advantage. Like, and imagine the food. What kind of jingle did you have in the food? Like, would you just go around like, it's the food truck? Ah! The kids come out with the money.
I would actually just park, and people knew I was coming in certain neighborhoods, and then they'd have a kind of like a little get together gathering, and then so it ended up being good.
Looks like we need to talk a little more food truck because we're getting everybody hungry in the chat.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it ended up being a good thing though. For sometimes bad things have to happen, so you grow more. I mean, obviously I was growing out of that little trailer. Now we have 2 food trucks, and I just think I needed to, I need to start over because I didn't know what I was doing my first couple of years of food trucking. I had no idea what I was doing.
And it was a wise dwarf from Game of Thrones once said that if you when you start over, you're not starting over from scratch. You're starting over with all the experience that you had.
Oh, yes.
So good for
and your
that.
mistakes. Yeah.
But you've got a talk about great tag teams.
Yeah.
This tag team partner right here seems to be a solid supporter here.
Yes, that is my husband now. We just celebrated 1 year, so yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we met each other in Sturgis in 2016. He had an LED company, LED light company, and then I had just my barbecue sauce at the time. No food truck yet, and we were parked next to each other, our vendor spots, and he wasn't really impressed because his son was like, "Do you know who that is?" He's like, "I really could care less who that is." He's like, "I don't know who she is." And the timing wasn't right. We just became friends. Weird, But when I saw him, I was like, "Damn!"
You're like,
just my style. I like that rugged look. And then, we kept in touch year after year. And then in 2020 is when I brought the new food truck to Florida for the winter, and that's where he's from. He lived in Tampa at the time, and we started hanging out, started dating, and then he had a very nice job in Tampa, and I was heading back to Minnesota. So I was like, this food truck does way better in Minnesota, so I need to get this bitch back home. And he's like, let's do it. He's like, can this food truck support both of us? I said, yes, it can. I'm like, let's go. So doing because I did the food truck business all by myself for 3 or 4 years. And then basically my husband's the pit master. So now his mug is on it too. So now we have a smokehouse trailer and then the original truck. And it's great. I mean, it's not easy for a husband and wife to run a business together and you're always with each other, but it works out for us. So
well, that's good that it sounds like you guys communicate. I mean, that, one other thing that the pandemic thing was shutting down everything did for a lot of couples was it forced them to be with each other. So,
and then they didn't like each other.
If you found out you didn't like each other, it's like, oh, all this time, or you find out that you've got a lot more in common. Now,
right.
do you think though, maybe he found your photo shoot from TNA or whatever, and that's what he's like, wait a minute, oh, that's who that is.
Nothing impressed him really.
Nothing.
He was just happy I didn't have any nude pictures leaked out to the internet.
Yeah. What's OnlyFans?
Oh gosh.
Only BAMs instead of OnlyFans. There what about this little one? This little firecracker.
That's funny. Yep. Good. That's a little ODB. That was with my I have a very close family, and that was my great grandma. Then me on her lap, and then that's me in my Lone Ranger outfit, I think.
Was that your first? That's your first gear right there. You get ready.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do a new photo shoot with that outfit.
You got the tank top already, and instead of beer, you got animal crackers.
Yeah, animal crackers. I'm ready.
I love the look your great grandmother's giving you here too. The look.
Yeah, that was funny because I was such the opposite. She was such a very proper lady and very elegant and pearls and diamonds all over. And then, it'd be funny to still have, her around now. I mean, she'd be 120 years old, but, but it's just very cool to look back at where you came from and how much the women have changed.
Yeah. How much though, the character ODB is a lot of people say the best wrestling personas are when you are an enhanced version of yourself. You turned up to 11. Is that true for ODB?
Yes. It is me with like Stone Cold says, with the volume turned up. It is me. But there's times where I'm a mellow person in real life. Like I'm just kind of chill. I'm a hard worker though. Get shit done. I don't half-ass anything. And I think with the ODB, it's like when I get into that character, and it's just like I can do whatever the hell I want and get away with it.
Like bring a flask to the ring, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
I'll
that
catch myself on the food truck, and there are people that aren't wrestling fans and they don't really understand the ODB, but then they look it up and they see the story. They're like, "Oh, this is really cool." And then sometimes I'll be ODB when someone's asking a question or asking a stupid question. I kind of give it right back to them, and they kind of stop a little bit, and I'm like, "What?"
What are some of the stupidest questions someone has given you, or just that you've just had to be like, like, listen, dude.
Oh boy, God, it's just.
Or
Well, sometimes you get like not the drunk, but I mean we do a lot of big events, so we do get a lot of drunk people. But we just got a lot of ignorant people. Like I have my wrestling picture on the back of the truck. Of course, me and my gear and going like this, and my boobs are out a little bit, and I always get the women like, ugh. Then I got one day, well, when was that picture taken? And then the husband was like, I love that picture. I'm like, why don't you ask your husband when it was taken? Like, shit.
yeah, exactly.
But you get people that are just like, oh, don't you think you have enough cleavage in there? I'm like, no, I should have put more, actually. Thanks.
You're right. I'm covering too much up, actually. Exactly.
You don't like it, don't stop here.
Yeah, Pepe Petit wants to know, when did you start doing the boob slap?
I think I started that right when I got to TNA. Right in like 07. Someone, I forget who was watching my match, and I kept like grabbing my boobs for some. I think I was afraid they were gonna come out or something. Someone's like, it might have been Terry Taylor, and he's like, you kept grabbing your boobs. I was like, oh, he's like, no, keep doing it. And then I remember Bubba, and he was like, you know what you should start doing as people to get people to chant ODB, start going ODB.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it gets them. It's up there with the Joe Hendry clap. You gotta get the boobs going.
Worked.
Do you find I mean, a lot of times my grandfather used to tell me the emptiest cans make the most noise. So a lot of times you hear that one obnoxious fan when you've got 1,000 awesome fans.
Right.
But like even recently, like at AEW event, I remember Saraya called out on camera this guy that was drunk, and she put him on blast. And there were a lot of taking care of your own or taking care of each other kind of thing. And do you find it better just to ignore those kind of folks, or do you sometimes it's like when a comedian gets a heckler, do you just shut them down, or what do you feel is the best way to handle something?
I have mixed feelings. I go back and forth because there's times where I'm like, I just want to punch people in the face. Especially when they either in person or they're just online doing their stuff like, oh, it's just like, but that's what they want. They want you to get mad. They want you to call them out. So I'm like, well, it's like Dave Gorecka on Busted Open.
Mm-hmm. He
actually said he just freaking mutes them. He doesn't block them. He just mutes them so they can keep talking, but he never sees it.
Yeah.
Which is that's great advice. Mm-hmm. But I just like, you're going to get it and you're going to get ass hats like that always. So I ignore it. I mean, just try to ignore it because you don't want to have them, especially if you're out live wrestling and stuff. Fuck that.
You haven't got time for that mess.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever get
hey, you want to be a real man? Meet me out in the parking lot. I'll whoop your ass.
There's a guy at one of the taco festivals Mission Pro was at, and this guy was talking smack about the chops not being hard. So Thunder Rosa brought him in, and her and the Renegade Twins gave him real chops, and I think the dude was about to have a heart attack.
Yeah, then you get stupid people like that too.
And then then we've got the original. Look at the origin story here. Now you were you were in the first season of Tough Enough, right?
Yes, I was.
What was that experience like?
That was cool because it was right when I started to plan I was gonna do wrestling. And then, of course, I'm watching SmackDown and I see Jim Ross talking about you guys think you're tough enough? And Jerry the King Lawler was there too. And they made this video. I think you're tough enough. Why don't you, tell us how tough enough you are? And they're going to pick all these people, or pick, 10, 12 people to be in a house and be the next WWF superstar. And so me and my brother made a videotape. I called myself ODB already. And I just made this videotape, and coming from Minnesota, where legends are made.
Yes.
And I got a call from one of the producers saying, hey, you made it to the top. It was like 250 people got invited to New York. Because remember that they had their New York restaurant, the WWE restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Times Square. And so that's where we all had to go. So I went out there, and then I was shy. I was 20 years old or so, and very shy, and just not into my ODB character. I had no idea I just called myself One Dirty Bitch, and I wasn't who I am now. I don't even think I had one tattoo or something. And it was funny because Al Snow and I believe Mick Foley and Jackie Moore were on the stage. They were doing the interviews, and Al Snow, till this day, he's like, you're the only one I remember. He's like, I saw you in the ring. I knew you had it. I knew you had something, and we all wanted you. Because then I got chosen for the top 25, but then MTV didn't like me because I didn't have a story. I was just a quiet, shy little girl. Like, I wasn't,
Oh, they didn't know what they had.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Was it your brother that gave you the name?
Yep.
One Dirty Bitch?
Yep.
Where'd that come from? How'd that emerge?
Because me and him wrestled since we were little. Like, my parents, we'd get the pay-per-views, we'd have our friends over, and we'd beat each other up. My dad would come down we do the stomach claw. And we just grew up watching. I think because he's like, you need a name that the crowd's gonna chant.
Yeah.
He's like, Jesse's not gonna work. He's like, you need something like initials. And at the time, I was not a rapper fan. I wasn't into Old Dirty Bastard or nothing.
No Wu-Tang, huh? No Wu-Tang.
And no Wu-Tang for this one. And then it was just ODB, One Dirty Bitch, and it was like, let's go. And I never, obviously, when I'm wrestling certain places, they never really said, oh, they did finally say it at TNA, but most people would never say the bitch part. So
yeah.
Well, it worked.
You prefer ODB or One Dirty Bitch? But again, we don't want to spill all the tea about ODB, because if you want to really dive deep, you got to go. And let me get the banner going as well. You got to get your ass to odbsmeetandgreet.com. Go to the merch section and get yourself a copy, possibly a signed copy.
Yes, I sign them all. So when you order my book, I will personalize it for you and sign it.
And does it also come with the flask in the middle there?
Oh no, it does not come with a flask.
So now you're not only food truck, entrepreneur, badass wrestler, but now author, published author.
Right. I kind of forget about that. I'm like, I wrote a book.
So how was that experience like? And did you you didn't do so like a ghostwriter? This was all you, and did you have writer's block? Was it a struggle, or was it just unleashing all your thoughts onto paper?
I had help. I actually reached out to my good friend Mick Foley, because he's number one seller, written many books. And I was in Florida at the time, and I invited him out to the food truck for some dinner. And he came out, and I'm like, Mick, I just want to get right to it. I want to write a book, and I would love your help, your guidance. He's like, you know what? He's like, you have a great story. I think it'd be great telling your story. And he had a couple of people, like helpers and like authors and writers that he thought would be good for me. And then he hooked me up with Kenny Casanova. And we clicked, like, because Kenny, he's more character. And when you read my book, you actually hear my voice. That's what
Yeah.
everyone that has read my book says I can hear you telling the story, and that's exactly what I freaking wanted people to do. Because my story, I mean, it's a good story. I don't have a sad story. I had the fairy tale childhood.
Mhm.
We grew up like the Griswolds. We family vacations, mom and dad are hard workers.
Hamburger helper, it does fine by itself.
Yeah, that's right. And then just the journey of wrestling and working at Walt Disney World and finally finding life after wrestling. And it's just a cool book. I don't bury anyone. I only tell one person to go F themselves, but it's not bad. But not in a bad way, but hey.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. Like it has great pictures of me when I was a little girl, and it's just it was fun writing. It took about a little over a year to finally get it all done and printed out, and
That's so cool. The no excuse that it seems purposely put there in this photo. Is that a mantra that you have for yourself?
What's that?
The no excuse.
Oh, yes. Oh, I do that every time. I hear it all the time. Like even on the food truck, because I like to post positive stuff all over my social media, and I work out, I have a trainer and everything, and just kind of as I get older, I kind of want to, keep moving my body. And then I always get people that like, oh, I can't do this because I have this and this. I'm like, we all have freaking problems. We all have knee problems. We all have hip, back, shit. We all have, I'm just like, shut the hell up.
Yeah. Pain is part of getting old. I mean, pain is that's part of it. And that seems to be too, like there seems to be sometimes a misconception between, being aware of like mental health and mental motivation. But sometimes you got to have that real talk too. Like get your ass out of bed and go do this. Or, I always try to trick myself. I always try to put my sneakers on before I know what my body knows what I'm doing, because then I don't have time to second guess and go, I'll just go sit on the couch. Like, too late. You're already dressed. You're already time to hit the gym. There's requests for a ODB biopic movie.
A movie.
Interesting. And
let's call The Rock up.
Let's get The Rock. The ODB story. We'll have to do some casting to figure out who's going to play little ODB,
right?
In the whole thing there. But that is tremendous. And again, go to odbsmeetandgreet.com. Get yourself a copy. Have you been still kind of keeping an ear and an eye on everything going on in wrestling, or is the food truck kind of consuming you?
No, I still watch, especially with social media.
Yeah,
I keep track of people. I actually still watch Monday Night Raw because Mondays we don't work normally, so I like to watch some Raw. I would love to watch SmackDown, but unfortunately, we're always on the food truck on Friday nights.
Friday's probably one of your busiest nights. Fridays and Saturdays, or
on AEW, I watch that on Wednesday. So yeah, and if I don't miss, or if I miss it, I will catch it online somehow.
Sounds like Raw. There's talks that Netflix is going to take Raw. They're going to switch it up where Raw's going to go down to 2 hours, SmackDown's going to go to 3. But Netflix Raw is going to be a little more. They're going to ditch the PG. Yeah, they're going to go a little more raw. Which is perfect for like what's going on with Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio. But if you don't mind, we do have a segment where we go through the week in women's wrestling news and we kind of highlight some things going on. And I'd love to get your take on some of the news items going on.
All right.
There we go. It's time for the weekend. All right, here we go. First of all, just a little update from things going on in WWE and NXT. NXT seems to be real. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch some of that, but it's got a lot of eyeballs with Jordan Grace showing up. You've had Ethan Page and Kaylani Jordan versus Sol Ruka for the the North American Championship. That's going to be one heck of a match. And now it looks like the plan after beating Shayna Baszler at the it was like a MMA style fight. Lola Vice is going to go after Roxanne Perez for the championship.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know a lot of the NXT women.
They're young up and comers. Roxanne Perez has been in the independent scene for a little bit.
She was great. I watched her and Jordan's match.
Yes,
they complimented each other. I thought it was a great match.
I thought so too, and I really like that it a lot of times people the misconception, and I'd love to hear your take, is the person losing the match, they always say, oh, they got buried. But a good match, like, people don't remember a lot of times the result so much as they remember the match and the moment. And like you get like Jordan Grace looked like the beast that she was in that match.
Oh yeah, it didn't hurt her at all. Shit.
Not at all. And then of course, one of my favorite comedy characters, Chelsea Green, has really embraced. She's kind of like both Iconics in one person, and then her own version. Talk about where Matt Cardona has reinvented himself as the king of the Indies. She's kind of invented herself as this Karen diva character, and now she says she's going to try. When she wins the women's championship, she's going to bring it back to the Divas Championship.
I love it because I got to work with her in the TNA days, and it's great. And Matt Cardona is freaking awesome too. And if you're ever on a show with him, you better go out and buy him a beer and talk with him. And it's the way with Chelsea, it's like she got opportunity and she took it. She dresses great. The whole look is great. She works out. She takes care of herself. She wears, nice gear, and it's just awesome when, she goes out there. She's good on the mic, and she's kind of took it. And now
she and Matt both seem to really get it,
Yeah.
And did you ever wrestle this version of Chelsea, or was it the hot mess?
It was the hot mess, actually, when she was in the wedding dress with the champagne bottle.
Yeah. She like returned to well, they were calling it Impact at the time, but she returned to TNA, and she walked out like it was like she was like half Chelsea and then half the hot mess character. It was like,
I remember that.
That was pretty cool. We speak of two folks that are out on injury. Decided to tie the knot here. Dang, Mommy and cool. Buddy.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's very cool that they're doing. And of course, it's fun. What tickles me a little bit is there sometimes are people that get mad, like, you're ruining the storyline at WWE, and I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's cool now that Triple H is more family oriented, and now you can take more personal time if you need it. And I think that's great that they got to do this. And
without getting into anything negative, I do feel like there's a more positive spirit at WWE now.
Right. You can tell too. You can look. Yeah.
You can see it, and it's not taken away from other promotions. I mean, in fact, if anything, do you feel like in general with wrestling, in specific with women's wrestling, do you feel like we're kind of entering I mean, as a wrestling fan, this is a great time to be a fan, but do you feel like things are kind of elevating to a point where, like Jordan Grace showing up on NXT, we might even someday have an AEW WWE crossover,
right,
or TNA and NW, what do you feel like we're getting to a point where things are much more positive, or do you think we still have a ways to go?
Oh gosh, no, I think it's going on the right track. Being a wrestling fan nowadays, damn, you're lucky.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is cool. It's cool to see, especially the TNA and NXT stuff going on. It's very cool. I love seeing that.
What about specifically women's wrestling? Do you feel like looking back, when you and everybody were coming up, and then you had, and even before, like back, like, the Fabulous Moolah, you had, like, Lou Fisto talked about, a lot of the harassment she had to endure just being in the indies. Do you feel like women's wrestling is a lot more protected and elevated now than it used to be? Do we still have a lot of ways to go for it to be truly embraced?
Oh, I think it's there. It's there. Yeah. Now you just got, I mean, all the women that I see wrestling are great.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's really no girl. I mean, there's some people that you can tell just aren't into it. Like there's times where I can watch Raw and I'm looking at the girls wrestling. A couple of them look like little girls and you can tell like
Mm-hmm.
they just came from backstage and now they're up in the ring and they're the same person.
Yeah.
There's no aura there. There's no oomph. Like some of them, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? You don't seem, a lot of them don't even seem invested into themselves.
Yeah.
Very few. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you their names, but there's a few girls there. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even look like you want to be there. You don't even, sometimes you don't even look like you know where you are. Like it's just no personality. Exactly. That's what it was. No personality. And it's like you're giving, because I always think that too, because I never made it to the WWE. And I always think that I'm like, some of these women don't realize, they got a spot, like let's say they got their WrestleMania moment. They got their Royal Rumble moment. I never had that. And I would, it's just like, never say never, but it's just like, bitches, like some of these women are like, I don't know. Sometimes they just,
they don't know what they have.
Yes, that's, yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because what goes back to what's memorable isn't necessarily, you could be in the best shape, you could have, be all this, but it's how wrestling makes fans feel. Even the cool moves, they're great. I mean, I love watching tope, super duper whoopas, whatever. But like to me, the story, the character, the development, not just the setup, but even in just a given match, the way you artists tell a story, with your reactions and emotion you emote. Do you find yourself? It's interesting because I had worked in the restaurant industry. You are in the restaurant industry. Just like with that, I find myself not only more critical when I'm out at a restaurant, but also I'm more appreciative when good service is attempts are done, like they're trying really hard. I'm much more forgiving for a mistake if they're trying, but also if there's an opportunity, I'm also looking at the back at the operation, at the make table, and I'm looking at all that kind of stuff. Do you find yourself like that with being in the restaurant industry and as well with wrestling? Do you kind of go, oh, they messed it up, but nice recovery. She helped her partner in that she saved her partner from looking bad in that or something like that.
I do. I look in everything in life like that, like go to the restaurant part. Like we're very good tippers because we know what it's like.
Yep.
And we can see, like if they're getting a hard time from another table, you're like, oh my God, I feel bad for this girl or guy. And it's like, God dang it. But then there's people that like, I'm a big fan of like, get off your goddamn phone. And this is in wrestling, and this is in any business. You think you're so cool. Like, I can't stand it. Like if people come to our food truck and they're on their phone, I'm like, sorry, we don't take online orders. Next, get the fuck out. Like, get off your god and don't go like this to me. Hell no.
Oh,
they don't want to
see one hot dog.
Yeah, right. And even like when I see like the phone should never be. I tell everyone on the food truck, phones are gone. Like we're on the food truck. I'm paying you, and let's and especially with health and stuff, like you can't be touching all your shit.
Like, oh yeah, you can't be sitting there scrolling. And exactly.
Like what's so important? You're not that over. All right.
You got to find out the likes, Jesse. You got to see how many likes you got on your most recent.
And it's like even like backstage. Like I was. It's probably been a while since I've been backstage, maybe a year or so. But just seeing everyone on their freaking phones, like if after our match in TNA, I wouldn't even go shower or nothing. I would literally, we talk about our match, maybe grab something to drink or eat, go back to the monitor and watch everyone else's match. Because, you know, the legends are there watching, and they can go home if they wanted to. But no, you got Kurt Angle, Booker T, and Ric Flair watching matches, you know?
That's free seminar right there. You know?
And then you got some of these jack-offs that are like on their phone looking at their tweets and seeing how over they are. It's like, put your goddamn phone. Like, we didn't have phones really. We did have phones back then, but we didn't have what we have now on social media. Thank God. You know, it's just like, and we enjoyed each other's company more. Like, we were backstage yapping, everyone's laughing. If someone messed up, whatever, it happens. You know, always wanted to make sure everyone was okay. Like, oh shit, that didn't go as planned, or you know. But nowadays, everyone's like, yeah, and it's like, oh my God, fuck.
Yeah, it's like, and you get the botch police. You know, they get out there like, oh, that was a botch. You know, I would love to see a segment where wrestlers go to other people's jobs, and whenever they make a mistake, they go botch. Oh, how could you do that? How could you staple the TPS report on backwards? You know, that kind of stuff. It drives me nuts. I really appreciate your time. I just have a couple more things we want to go through. Speaking of happy couples, though, switching over to TNA, PCO, basically the TNA Frankenstein, and Steph DeLander, who has frequently been on Matt Cardona's shoulder for a lot of independent. They had the nice little dinner date, and then it was broken up by Top Dollar there, came in and broke the whole thing up. But I love this angle because I always thought Steph DeLander kind of had that Bride of Frankenstein look going on a little bit.
Right.
And I think this is one of those like kind of storylines that I love that TNA is able to really dive into. These kind of, you know, let the creatives go. And, you know, this is something I think it adds to both characters, and this is something I've been kind of getting a kick out of. I don't know if you've been able to catch much TNA.
I have not. No.
Well, this is just one of the many things going on in TNA. Tony Khan, really quick, was on WGN Radio. You know, you've got the Forbidden Door coming up. Have you been to Japan? Have you wrestled in Japan at all?
I have. I actually got to wrestle towards kind of like the end of my career. I mean, my career's not over, but towards the end, I think 2017, 16 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Japan. I got to wrestle. I loved it. I mean, I'm glad I finally got the opportunity to at least do it once. So.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Well, you know, and your career is never over. I mean, we definitely are hoping to see it back. And we see your workouts on Instagram. We know the ODB is still in fighting shape. You know, you never know when the truck pulls up. You know, two things: good food and an ass kicking are coming. One or the other, or both.
Just need to get new wrestling boots. I have my old gear hanging behind me, and then I have my old wrestling boots, but. If I do get back in the ring, I need to order a new pair of boots.
We need to get some one dirty boot.
Yeah.
So you know, because that's the new thing now. You got the Young Bucks marketing their sneakers. We need to get some ODB boots out there, some mud stompers. Just to paraphrase, Tony Khan was talking about how excited he feels like, you know, with Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné, Chris Statler, he's talking about he feels that this has been the best year for AEW women's division. He feels like it's the best women's division in women's wrestling. I think there's a lot of ladies in other companies that would challenge that. However, I think overall, this is one of the best years for women's wrestling. As we talked about a little bit earlier, the whole, you know, elevating everybody, you know, the storylines and whatnot. And, you know, just to kind of touch on it again, it really seems like the bar is lifted and everyone is stepping up. Yes. And in women's wrestling, where it's not the popcorn match, and there's still people that try to say that, but you know, one of my favorite matches from this past weekend was that 3-on-3, the Saraya and Harley Cameron and Anna Jay versus Tony Storm. That was a tremendous match, and Forbidden Door looking
3 girl matches, nice.
Look at these and I think there's another one that they're working on, but And of course, Collision. There's 2 women's matches on Collision this Saturday. Lady Frost, who's one of my favorites to watch in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, she's like Mary Lou Retton on steroids. You know, she's just flip, like doing all this stuff. But Stephanie Vacour is one that I hope a lot of mainstream fans can really get to see in the ring. Obviously against Mercedes, Mina Shirakawa. I love the storyline they're doing with them. Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander with their partners from Japan, Tam Nakano and Momo Watanabe. I'm not as familiar with them, but again, let me ask you this though: like, does it frustrate you, or is it just you understand a little bit when a wrestling promotion introduces a new wrestler from another promotion or from another country, and then you get that reaction of who? Like, to me, I'm like, Google's a thing.
Have some respect. Yeah. Yeah.
They're being brought in. I remember El Vikingo from AAA came into an AEW match against Kenny Omega. I'm freaking out. I'm thinking this is going to be insane. And there's so many people going, who's Vikingo? And I'm like, dude, YouTube, El Vikingo, El Hijo de Vikingo, type that in.
Right.
And be glad you did, because you're going to see this guy defy gravity. But are there any this is the conversation I wanted to really get into with you, but I know we're short on time. But this was Sky Blue. This was back in June. She she responded when they announced the men's blood and guts match is coming. She had her big eyes, and then she on WGN radio talked about how she would love to be in the first women's blood and guts match. And what are your thoughts on hardcore matches, specifically in women's wrestling? Is there a place for it? Do you think that's too extreme? I mean, do you think occasionally for a blow off to a huge feud? And do you think we're ready for that kind of style match, or is it to each their own? Where do you kind of stand on that kind of?
I think it's disgusting. No, I don't think women shouldn't bleed in the ring. Like, I'm not a fan of it. We're still women. And there's still ways around of making a good match without, you're going to have a table here and there, maybe a ladder, do stuff, but I don't think we need like thumbtacks, me personally, or barbed wire, or anything like cutting your face. No, I don't.
What if you said it's barbecue sauce, not blood?
We have enough, street fight. Yeah, I was in the street fights, but we did them. But we did it in a way like me and Velvet Sky would do a lot of street fights back in TNA.
Yeah,
we'd have fun with it. Like you're creative. This is where this comes in. Like you're there all day. Let's think about this. All right, we got this. Let's do something fun with this. Let's go here. And it's just, you have fun. Like, so many people just think they want to do all this stupid shit. Like, no. Like, I didn't
could end your career.
Top rope, like I didn't have to. I was more of a brawler, and it's like I would love to challenge some of these women, to like get over just by being in the ring and not having to do all these crazy stuff.
And you make an interesting point too, because you don't necessarily have to get quote unquote busted open to put on a hardcore match. You could there's so many things, like going through a table, or I almost feel like, Grant, there's always a joke that, John Moxley, they put the work sign. It's been exactly 0 days since the last time John Moxley bled in the ring. It's like the workman's comp thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like that sometimes the well goes, too many times. Occasionally, I think it means more if it only happens once in a blue moon. But if you've got every match someone's bleeding,
people are going to expect it now all the time.
Yeah, and then you get to the point where it's almost nauseating. Like when Hangman drank Swerve Strickland's blood. It's like, come on now, let's I'm trying to eat my Bam nachos here.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm trying to eat that. But you can definitely do the powerful moves and the hardcore stuff without the blood. And I almost feel like that's in some cases we've kind of gone a little bit too much. More love in the chat, by the way. that guy
What's
Tommy,
up?
who he is the equivalent of the Mission Pro Peanut Gallery. He always gets a front row seat at the Mission Pro events, and
Awesome.
he is the official heckler of Mission Pro. I mean, in a good way. He doesn't get obnoxious. Well, I don't know. So a couple of the heels might think he's obnoxious, but he's definitely gives the heels their business, and he's very He's a huge supportive fan of women's wrestling. He's awesome, and we love him. And go check him out there too. But ODB, I really appreciate you hanging with us. I love your insights. And are the boots going to get dusted off anytime soon?
You never know. Well, it is food truck season, so I'd have to wait till November when we close the food trucks down for the winter. But yeah, you never know. I mean, my body's feeling good. I have a trainer, as you all can see. My workouts I post on Instagram and my Facebook, and yeah, I mean, I still have a little itch in me to get back out there.
Well, maybe we should order the food truck for a Mission Pro event, and you never know what might happen from what might stem from a visit from the food truck that might lead into a feud for November at sometime in November or December. Silver Bells is one of the Mission Pro highlight events every year, so that happens in December. So you never know. Who might show up and kind of teach some of these youngins to get off their phones.
Yeah.
Get off your phones and pay attention. Go touch some grass, live some life, And I want to make sure I got your socials. Obviously, you keep it very simple. The ODB BAM.
Yep.
And ODB's meetandgreet.com.
Go check it.
Go check it out. Go check out the menu if you want to really get starving. We made some barbecue chicken in here with some Memphis rub here, and it whet my appetite, but I'm still craving some barbecue. Can people get any of your sauces online?
My sauces are out of order right now.
Wow.
They're sold out. So we're working on it, getting more bottles made. So as of now, the only place you can get our actual barbecue sauce is at the food truck.
Is that okay? So you have to go to the food truck.
You can't get
at this
online
time
right now, but you can. Obviously, my book is the only thing you can get online now. So
absolutely,
your asses out there and go order it.
Listen, you mother truckers.
Yeah,
you better go get that book. And do you also have the
TNA Knockout to write a book?
Exactly. Oh, there it is. Yep, author, the only TNA Knockout to write a book.
Yeah.
And it's in her voice. You don't even need to get the audiobook because when you read it, you're going to hear it in ODB.
Well, I am working on getting it in audio, so that would be cool.
It's got to be read by you, though. It's got to be read by you.
That's the whole point of doing it.
Yeah,
I just had to have like a day of just sitting in a room and reading.
Can you imagine some British girl trying to read your book and then I took the flask and smashed her over the mother trucking head.
I'd be like, you're
fired. ODB, it's been an honor to have you here. I'm so excited for your future, excited for the success of your food truck. And they're already fantasy booking you for Mission Pro. ODB versus Genocide, Holodead, perhaps. There's a lot of folks that they're already booking you. So we might hopefully we'll see you at some point. Thank you so much. And any final words or of wisdom to those kids out there that need to touch grass?
Yeah, right.
Or any words of wisdom to the fans out there?
Live your life, be happy. Like don't let this shit take over. Like don't, yeah, no one needs to be on there. That's just on my mind a lot. Like even if usually the people that I'm around never had, if we're going out to eat or somewhere, no one's on their phones.
Yeah.
Normally but I hate when I'm out to eat and I see people on them, people are giving you their time. You're giving them your time. Talk. Remember back in the olden days?
or have you ever seen a couple go on a date and they text each other during the
and they're both literally, and I'm thinking, what are they on? And then you look, I'm Snoopy like that. I'm like, And then they're usually like on Facebook, or I'm like, are you seriously like scrolling while you have a person in front of you?
Really quick, where do you stand on taking photos of your meals before you eat them?
The only time I did that, well, I want people to take pictures of our food on the truck.
Yeah.
But when we went on our honeymoon, we went to Rome, and I made a cool, because I didn't do social media. We were gone for a month. We took a long ass honeymoon.
Nice.
And I would just take, pictures, videos, and then put my phone away. Then when I got home, I put all the food together. I was like, oh, because we were just looking at photos of it last night, and I'm like, oh my God, I miss that food.
What anniversary trip? I don't know if you could ship the truck out to Rome, but
Oh no, nah.
Awesome. ODB, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Stay awesome,
you.
and we'll hopefully we'd love to have you back on Spotlight down the road. Maybe when
Let's
you're getting
do it.
closer to that itch starts to become more of a scratch.
That's right.
Thank you so much again. Mother Truckers, go to ODB at odbsmeetandgreet.com. Follow her on all the socials, but don't be on the socials for too long. Make sure you're also out there touching grass. For ODB, this is Mind Runner, and we'll see you next week to Tuesdays for On a Mission with Emily May, and again Thursdays, special edition of Spotlight next week with myself and La Ola Ola. We're going to be breaking down some cool stuff, so we'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Have a great